The Indiana men's soccer team faced the New Hampshire Wildcats for the first time ever in the third round of the NCAA tournament, coming away with a 2-1 win. Assembly Hall will be rowdy Wednesday night for the Duke game, but does Indiana have a chance?
Congrats for that. But looking ahead, you play the number 4 Wolverines this Friday for homecoming. And with Elhempt out due to injury, what are you guys looking for on defense to replace her position and to kind of help change the dynamics of the team? Although IU fought a tough battle today in their 15th College Cup appearance, they were unable to come away with their 9th title, but Coach Todd Yeagley said there's more to winning than just coming away with the trophy.
Should be a good game. I'm excited to see it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think Indiana has a chance, but it'll be really, really tough.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Austin and Ben, for joining us on this edition of Cream Bee Crimson.
Thanks, guys. Like you said, we're expecting to see a returning player on the court today. Well, Coach Miller said that 80% of practices have been about working on transition offense and kind of the spacing and pacing throughout the team. So how have you seen guys like Robert Johnson and Devontae Green really step up and continue that pace throughout the game?
So was it hard having parents so close to the sport you play?
Hey guys, I'm here with senior Robert Johnson. Robert, you tallied the game high for the points today on the team with 16. How are you able to execute on offense and make those opportunities for yourself? Guys, thank you. Like you said, I'm here with assistant coach Ed Schilling. Coach, we saw a lot of defensive pressure from U of Indy in the first half. What do the Hoosiers need to do to continue to execute on offense going into the second half? This is my last question I have for you. What has been one of your favorite moments playing for this team and why? So as the second half is underway, one player to look out for in particular is sophomore Devontae Green. Now after last week's exhibition game versus Marion, we saw a surprise guest when San Antonio Spurs guard Danny Green came to watch his younger brother tally up a game high of 22 points and 7 assists. Now Devontae already has 5 points on the scoreboard, but Coach Miller's preached all this preseason long that how the guys play in practice is exactly how the minutes will be divided up in game time. And after last week's game, Coach Miller talked about Devontae, saying that when he's being unselfish and he's making other people better, his team always wins. And Devontae himself credits his ability to him being more comfortable with the ball in his hands and having Coach use him in that point guard position. Back to you guys. IU will end a 5 consecutive road game stretch facing off against their final non-conference matchup, the Ohio Bobcats. After losing 4-1 on the road against Northwestern on Friday, IU's record now sits at 5-8 on the season and 0-4 in Big Ten play. But despite the rain, as you can tell, the Hoosiers are repping pink for today because today marks IU's annual Play for the Cure game in recognition of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. If you're one of the first 100 fans through the gate, you too can help to support the Hoosiers in raising awareness with a free pink t-shirt. Back to you guys. All right, Taylor, you were so crucial for the Hoosiers today on both offense and defense. How were you able to create that opportunity for yourself in the first half to get your first goal of the season today? All right, I'm here with senior Tyra Buss. Tyra, you led the team with 28 points. How important was the team's transition offense for you today?
Oh, absolutely important, and that's something we kind of stress every day in practice.
I'm here with wide receiver and redshirt junior Luke Timian. Luke, you're from Texas. What was football like for you growing up, and what made you gravitate towards something like that? After winning both games this past weekend against Villanova and number 15 Wake Forest, IU is looking to score early on in the first half and maintain that momentum in order to secure their first home opener win under Coach Janey. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Mackenzie.
As Coach Morin heads into her 4th season with the Hoosiers, her team looks a little different this year, with 5 of her players having graduated. In Indiana's last exhibition game versus Gannon, 5 players scored in double figures, 3 of which coming from freshmen. Indiana's roster now holds 5 fresh, new faces looking to make an immediate impact, and Prospects Nation ranked this class 13th in the country, so expect to see a lot of new dynamics on the paint, as well as players taking on new roles. So your team looks a little different this year. You have 5 new freshmen, you only have 4 returning players. How important is just sticking to the basics for this team and moving forward? So finally, you look like you're having so much fun out on the paint today. How excited are you for the rest of the season?
Right now on Our Indiana, the Indiana men's soccer team continues its stellar play from the regular season into the NCAA tournament.
Indiana football faces off against Purdue in the Old Oaken Bucket game with hopes to go bowling for the 3rd straight season.
And IU men's basketball has picked it up as of late, but do they have what it takes to take down the number 1 ranked Duke in Assembly Hall on Wednesday? The 10th minute, Reese Buckmaster feeds the ball to junior Corey Thomas, who then banks a header from 6 yards out, giving the Hoosiers the early lead. Later in the second half, Spencer Glass makes a run down the pitch, taking the goalie one-on-one, but is soon taken down inside the box and awarded a penalty kick that would be taken by Francesco Moore. Moore converts a PK and gives the Hoosiers the 2-0 lead on his third goal of the season, but in the 77th minute, New Hampshire fires back. The Wildcats' Jacob Gold would cut the deficit, but it still would not be enough. The Hoosiers now look to host number 7 Michigan State in the quarterfinals of the NCAA tournament on Friday. Well, I'm really excited for the Duke game personally because Duke really hasn't dominated any particular team so far this season. So I think it'll be a lot closer than people think for IU.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah.
Welcome to Who's That Hoosier. Today in the studio we have redshirt junior Jessica Prado from the IU swimming and diving team. Thanks again for joining us today, Jessica. We enjoy having you on here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so kind of starting off, I know you said diving has been a part of your life for a long time now, but how exactly did you get into it?
Right.
Indiana improves to 17-0-5 on the season overall, and this will be the first time since 2012 that the team has seen the quarterfinals of the tournament. For a little more on the upcoming matchup versus Michigan State, I have the report from Jerry Yeagley-Field. Now, we've seen a lot of different players really step up night in and night out for the team for this young season. Who, in your opinion, is one player who you think will be key for them come Wednesday? On Saturday afternoon in the Hilton Concord Classic, the Lady Hoosiers suffered a 6-point loss against St. Mary's, dropping to 4-2 on the season. The Gales took their greatest lead of the game in the second quarter with a 6-0 run, later scoring at the buzzer to extend it to 8. The lead never came for Indiana despite a 3 from Jalen Penn in the final minutes of the fourth. Indiana ended the game with an improved 80% from the free throw line, as well as having 4 players score in double figures. Tyra Buss led the team with a game high of 24 points, followed by 21 from Jalen Penn. The Hoosiers returned home to host the number 4 Louisville Thursday for the Big Ten ACC Challenge at 8.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, if IU plays any way like they did against Michigan this past weekend, I think it'll be a very similar game, minus the overtime, and I think the score will be a lot closer to like 27-17, because Michigan lost against Michigan State 14-10 before they came to IU. And Indiana's a mediocre team. They're 3-3 on the season, and 2 of those wins came from Georgia Southern and Charleston Southern. And you can see it in the offense when they completely scrapped their offseason that was built around Lego, and they started using Peyton Ramsey as a quarterback. So, like I said, I think if they play any way they did against Michigan this past weekend, it will be a very similar game.
Hoosier hysteria was full of flair and fun, but what should we expect out of both the men's and women's teams this season?
Griffin Weinberg and Eddie Cotton broadcasted the event Saturday, and now they're with us in studio on this edition of Cream v. Crimson.
For both joining us today. We really appreciate having you guys on. Now, both of you guys broadcasted the Hoosier Hysteria game this past Saturday. What were some of the main takeaways you guys saw from the matchup? IU men's basketball got off to a 1-2 start on the season, but this Thanksgiving break, they made sure to take care of business in Bloomington. Last Sunday, Indiana took on South Florida, and Robert Johnson had it going on in the first half. Johnson was feeling it from deep to the start of the game as a nice move into the lane gives him 12 points at halftime. In the second half, Indiana tied up with Jawan Morgan starting to take over. He finishes with his left hand to put the Hoosiers up 2. Later in the game, Deron Davis rebounds his own miss and puts it back up for the bucket as Indiana starts to increase the lead. Robert Johnson scored 21 points in this game as Indiana would beat South Florida 70-53. Kind of going off what you said, one reason why I love postseason baseball is because it's unlike a lot of other pro sports. For example, if you look at like the NBA, you have superstar teams that just dominate the league, whether it's drafts, trades. In baseball, you see upsets like the Yankees and the Indians recently. Right now on Our Indiana, the IU men's soccer team had a field day against Rutgers, while the women's soccer team battled for the Golden Boot against rival Purdue.
And Hoosier football routed Georgia Southern during its first home game in 3 weeks on Saturday, improving to over 500 for the first time this season.
That and more coming up on Our Indiana. Indiana men's soccer hasn't trailed at any point in a game this entire season, and that stayed consistent in Saturday's third-round win versus New Hampshire, with Corey Thomas getting the Hoosiers on the board with an early goal.
We always enjoy that first goal because, like we said, our defense is just amazing. And then we ended up getting a nice second goal. Spencer putting his body on the line, Frank putting it home. And once it was 2-0, I had a pretty good feeling we would lock it down.
The Hoosiers earned much-needed insurance from a Francesco Moore penalty kick goal as they ended up conceding their 5th goal of the season late in the game in the 2-1 win.
I think tonight we were pretty good. I think we can still be better, and something we'll keep working on.
After tonight's win, it'll be the first time since 2012 that the Hoosiers have made it to the quarterfinals, and Coach Yeagley and his team said they're excited to be able to play for a chance to go to the College Cup on their home turf.
Having the opportunity to play at home for a College Cup is an experience that I told these guys, as a past player and alum and as an assistant coach when I had the opportunity, and now as a head coach, I think this is one of the more unique and great experiences to have a home game.
Indiana will play a familiar opponent in Friday's quarterfinal matchup as Big Ten foe Michigan State will come to Bloomington following their 2-1 win over Western Michigan in the 3rd round. The Hoosiers and Spartans tied each other 1-1 at the end of the regular season in East Lansing.
We know going into it, it's going to be a battle. Anytime you play a Big Ten team, it's going to be a battle. So we're pretty familiar with them, as you said, and we know what they like to do. They know what we like to do, and we're just going to keep looking at film, see where we can improve and where we can attack them and where we can stop them.
They're a team that when we played them this year, I said, okay, that's a team that can make a deep run at it. I thought we had a couple in the conference, and I think being at home is great. Our guys are going to really feed off that, and but ultimately we got to perform well. It's a worthy opponent.
If Indiana can take down Michigan State, they'll head to their 19th College Cup in program history and first since 2012. For our Indiana, I'm Mackenzie Salmon.
Juwan Morgan, without a doubt, came away as a star player Sunday after erupting in the second half. I have the story from Simon Scott Assembly Hall.
Indiana trailed South Florida by 1 at halftime, allowing the Bulls to shoot 44% from the field. But then in the second half, the Hoosiers got a much-needed boost from one of their upperclassmen.
We had to finish possessions. That was a huge key for us. And I think as we did that, the offense started flowing more freely. We were getting out, and it just opened up everything.
Junior forward Juwan Morgan had just 2 points and 2 rebounds at halftime, but in the second half, he led the way, picking up 7 total offensive rebounds in the game, while the Hoosiers locked down on defense and only turned the ball over 3 times.
I think that just goes with trying to hit singles more than home runs. I just know a few times where we were just trying to hit the very first play or hit the very first pass instead of letting the play develop. And in the second half, we let the play develop more.
Despite a slow start from Juwan Morgan, he ended the game with a double-double, sparking Indiana on both ends of the court in the second half.
Juwan Morgan basically jump-started the team. In that second half, he played extremely hard. His work on the glass was great, and he gave us confidence. So told Juwan, he continues to play like that. He's got good days ahead of him. I thought we got stops in the second half. I thought Juwan brought the crowd into the game with his effort. We got some confidence when we made some shots.
Morgan was also getting to the free throw line at a rapid rate, knocking down 9 of his 10 free throws in the game and finished with 15 points. Senior Robert Johnson led Indiana in scoring tonight with 21 points, but the junior Morgan also wanted to be held accountable for his team from a leadership standpoint.
They're the most experienced, but also I'm in that leadership role as well. And since they're taking over pretty much the offense side of things, because I just like to let my offense come through, offense rebounds and things like that, I think I just take more pride in the defensive side. And if I can get us a stop and then somebody go down and hit a big 3, I'm just as happy with that as hitting 3 myself.
For our Indiana, I'm Mackenzie Salmon.